There we go. What a way to start a video. It's going to be a bit of an unusual one anyway, so we might as well start with something funny and unique. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that have been following, looks like we're up to 10 subscribers now. Woohoo! Thank you so much for you 10 lovely folk. I can't express how much your subscription means to me, and I hope that you enjoy the content that I've been producing. Again, for anybody that doesn't know, I did originally have a Maple Grove Productions. I'm looking over here because I have two screens. We might as well change to this scene. So I've had this channel here a few times. In the last couple of years, we created Maple Grove Productions. It was mostly gardening and farming stuff. And we came to find out that our content was being censored and was being blacklisted or cancel cultured, whatever you want to call it. What sort of propagated that was one video that I made just in the midst of the events of the last few years. And I should preface this video by saying that what I'm going to do here is really dissect how YouTube determines, with the powers that be, what they deem misinformation or disinformation or inaccurate, whatever. So I'm gonna try to not use any words that I think will flag this video because I really want this one to make it to the public. Because the whole point of all this is that I had yet another video get flagged and banned, shadow banned, not even shadow banned, flat out light banned, if that's even a term, probably not. But anyway, they censored another one of my videos, and it kind of ticked me off. But at this point, I don't really care. So I'm just gonna make a video, which is this one here that you're watching, that's gonna be investigating why they took down my channel or it took down my video, and I'll just finish my story here afterwards on why my original channel got deleted, what the video was that caused all that to happen, and then I'll talk about this other video that I made recently and why that one got banned or deleted. Anyway, we're going to look into this in detail, so strap in. Strap in? Did I just say that? Well, strap in anyway. Buckle up, I guess is what I meant to say. Strap into, why not? And get ready for a wild ride because it's gonna be a longie, but it's gonna be a goodie. I promise you, because we're really gonna be looking behind the scenes. I want to know how this stuff works. I want to know why specifically that certain videos get banned and deleted, and what keywords to use and not to use. I've seen a lot of videos out there, a lot of channels, a lot of content creators that are very mindful of the words that they use now. So that tells me that simply uttering a C word, for example, you know the one I'm talking about, could potentially draw attention to your video. Now, this is all likely done with algorithms and not an actual person at the end of a keyboard that's intentionally banning these videos and researching them. And I'm sure there's a human component to all this, but I think that it's all being done in an automated, algorithmic way, of course, right? That's how everything's done. And Google is sort of, they were at the forefront of all this, and they sort of paved the way for all this crap. So I'm going to try my very best to be mindful of the words that I use. I'm not going to use the C word. I'm going to try not to. But then again, if I do, or if we discover what word it was that got flagged while we're watching the video, because that's where this is all going here, if you haven't figured it out. We're going to be doing a sort of viewing party, but it's not live, so I guess it's not really a viewing party. But I'm going to be watching this video with you, and I'm going to remove the parts that I think flagged the video or brought it to their attention and then got it banned. So we're going to really figure all this out. We're going to do some sleuthing. We're going to do some investigating. I think it's going to be fun. Instead of getting pissed off and rage and delete my channel again, which I'll explain in a second, I thought it would be interesting to do a sort of, a sort of behind the scenes, why did this happen? Because, I don't have a lot of subscribers, but anybody who might be watching the channel and who enjoys the Let's Read series, which so far it's just been Druthers, and Druthers is, there's another word that might get us banned right there, Druthers. They don't like Druthers, and I don't blame them, because Druthers is putting it all out in the open. All stuff that most of us already know, but they're putting it all in one place and distributing it to the masses, which is exactly what they need to do. But of course, the powers that wish to be don't want that. So just the word druthers, right, might have just flagged this video. Who knows? Then again, I have some other Let's Read videos. I actually haven't checked to see if those are still up and running. Why don't we do that first? And then I'll finish my story of what happened to the first Maple Grove productions. Um, let's take it. You're going to see the behind the scenes here, so I hope you appreciate this. I've got 30-something videos so far. I don't think there's any private information here. There's nothing that I want to keep private, nothing that I really care about. But if there is, I'll make sure to remove it from the video. So if we go to the videos, I've got a whole bunch of videos here scheduled. These are all from the old channel, actually. So you can look forward to, in the next year, having all this content coming back on the channel. So if you were originally a Maple Grove Productions subscriber, I think I was up to like 300 subscribers or something like that before I deleted, and it was me that deleted the channel, by the way. I should mention that. It wasn't YouTube. I sort of pulled the trigger on myself because I was just tired of this nonsense, this lack of dialogue, which, okay, it's a private service, right? It's a private organization, it's a private corporation, and it's their site, it's their video hosting site. If they want to ban somebody, or if they want to be unfair, or prevent freedom of speech, I guess that's their right to do it. It's their site. But you can't squelch, you can't silence the population from having a debate, from having a conversation, right? And we saw in the last few years where that lack of debate really pinned us against each other, and the lack of dialogue really lent itself to a lot of ignorance, a lot of hard feelings, a lot of people that just stopped talking flat out. I hate to say it, but this happened with myself and my family and some of my friends as well. As we just parted ways. These things have a way of bringing out people's true colors. And I'm not saying that didn't happen to me. Maybe my true colors were revealed in such a way that others were like, I didn't know that's what you were about. And it kind of, but in a way, it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing because you get to see what people are deep down. And then maybe you decide that you don't like that person anymore, or you don't like where they're going with their life and you don't want to join them with that. That's fine. It's better to find out now, I always say, than 10 years down the road when you have so much more invested in each other and it hurts that much more, right? It's like, just rip off the Band-Aid. Anyway, I don't want to digress too much. What happened with the original channel, just to finish this up real quick, there was a video, okay, and it's to do with the events of the last few years. I think I can say that safely. That was just encouraging people to question things, question the narrative, question the possible agendas at play, question the validity of the claims that all this stuff was happening for our benefit, for your safety, for as though they gave a crap. And when I say they, there's a lot of key words I could use here that will probably get this video flagged. So you're going to have to read between the lines a little bit here. Now, when I talk about they, you can imagine who they are, right? Especially people in positions of power, people in the medical establishment. I think I'm okay to say those things. Just can't say V or C, as far as I know. The other thing is, there was nothing in that video that was really making any claims per se. It was just, again, encouraging people to be critical thinkers and to think for themselves, right? To arrive at their own conclusions, to be objective and pull information from multiple sources and put it together in your own way and come to your own conclusions. Don't just believe what you see on the internet on the news, from a friend, from me, from anybody. Trust yourself and your own conclusions, because in this day and age, everybody needs to be rational. Everybody needs to be a critical thinker. Everybody needs to question things, because whatever form authority comes in, it needs to be scrutinized. That's our job, right? You want to talk about the duties of a citizen? First of all, I don't identify with any of that, and I'm going to be careful not to go on a tangent here. But those of us that are the actual productive members of our society, I use the word society lightly here, we're already doing the right things. We're already morally sound. We're already getting along with each other, with our neighbors, with our friends, with our family. We look to mend relationships, not break them. We look to unite people, not segregate them. We're all about unity, right? We're not about division. So you can see where you should question things maybe more in some areas than others, just based on that information alone. Is it possible that there's a hidden agenda there, right? Not that long ago, any of these questions may have potentially put a spotlight on you as a conspiracy theorist. But now we know that these conspiracies, quote unquote, are actually they're open conspiracies. They're all out in the open. They're not hidden. They're actual agendas that are at play right now. And those key players are very honest about what they're doing. It's all out in the open. That's why it's called an open conspiracy. There's nothing secret about it. Now, the information's all out there. Anybody can do their research and arrive at a similar conclusion. If you arrive at a different conclusion, good for you for having at least done the work and did some reading and arrived at your own conclusion. Now, hopefully, those sources that you used were legitimate, were valid, and they were not just bunk, right? They were not just misinformation and disinformation, which is strewn about the internet in a sort of trap way, where they're hoping that somebody's going to bite on this, because then they're going to pass it on to their friends and their friends and their family, and it's going to spread like a virus. Oh no, I can't say that word. Remove that from the records. No more V words. There's two V words actually I just thought of. I can't say either one of those because I don't want to go there. Even though a virus is a thing, it's biology, man. So maybe I'll try to get that one in there and see. Virus. Virus, virus, virus. Is that going to get this video banned? If by chance, okay, I know I'm all over the place, but I'm super excited if you can't already tell. If this video gets banned, it's going to be like a banception, okay? I'm going to keep doing this over and over and over again until I get one to go through. It's crazy, I know, and I'm a little crazy, I'll admit, but I really want to get to the bottom of this, because what they're claiming to be misinformation and disinformation, and we have the only narrative on this subject, of course we know is false. There needs to be multiple viewpoints and lots and lots and lots of opinions and lots of debates and conversations and people calling each other out and trying to debunk each other. I think that's a healthy thing to a certain degree, of course, but definitely we need to be fact checking each other. Where did you hear that? Where did you get that information? Can I have a link for that? Can you hook me up with the source so I can check it out myself? Anyone that's withholding or guarding information from you, you know that they're up to no good. Because if you arrive at a conclusion and it's something that you really feel like everybody needs to know this, you're not going to hold your cards against your chest. You're going to want to reveal it to everybody because you want to get them on board with the truth. Now let's get this all out in the open. There is such a thing. If you've watched any of my other videos in the Philosophy Corner or some of these other Let's Read videos, I'm sure I've expressed this as well. There is such thing as an objective truth. There are some truths out there that are completely objective, and they are unfeeling, they're uncaring, they apply to you regardless of whether you want to believe in them or whether you want to think that they exist or not. It really doesn't matter to these objective truths. They are, right? And your opinion of them really doesn't change them in any way. It's only going to make things more difficult for you. So really tired example that I'll use, but it's well articulated if done right, and I'll try to do this one justice. But essentially, uh, gravity, right, is a force of nature. We know gravity exists. We know there's something there. Maybe we don't know everything about it, but we don't know everything about anything. So, what we know that there's some phenomenon, there's some force, right? It's unquestionable. If you tell me, oh, I'm not sure that gravity exists, okay, well, try to walk off a cliff and see what happens. Do you think that gravity is going to make an exception? Do you think that a million times someone tries to walk off the edge, that the million and one time that they're not going to fall off, that they're just going to go straight out like Bugs Bunny and just walk out onto the air? No, that gravity applies the same way to everything in the universe, regardless of how they feel about it. And the same could be said for the laws that govern human morality, right? It's a scientifically proven thing. It's well known. You just have to know where to look and who to listen to, who not to listen to is more important, and to be open to the possibility that you've been misinformed and that you have a misunderstanding. Nobody wants to be wrong, right? I don't want to be wrong, but I can accept that when enough evidence has been presented to me that I can accept that I was wrong if that evidence has been presented and I accept it, right? The same could be said for anything. But there's some things, okay? These are the objective truths that I'm trying to get at. There's some things that blanket applies to everyone and everything in the universe. And I believe morality is one of those things. Now, why am I bringing all this up? Admittedly, I went on a bit of a tangent. I said I wouldn't. But I think it was worth it because it illustrates my point that there is such thing, and I keep saying this, I know, there is such thing though as an objective truth. And Druthers, the newspaper, the publication, is one of those sources of, as far as I'm concerned, unbiased information. Now, don't get me wrong, they make mistakes. They're only human over there. It's possible that some information that makes its way to the paper is not accurate or not factual. They're actually really good at amending those things, and I forget what it's called, but when the newspaper publishes in the next issue, they'll publish some corrections. I forget what it's called, but there's a term for this, and they'll correct their mistakes. They'll say, no, actually, we made a mistake. This thing that we were talking about didn't happen on this date. It happened on this date. Or it was actually this person that said it. Like, they'll go back, and if someone calls them out on it, they'll fix it, right? Which there's other areas of information where they never do that, and you can put those two pieces together and figure out what I'm talking about. But let's bring it back home, okay? The video that did get banned on my other channel, and which prompted me to delete the channel, I was just fed up. I was fed up with where we were in the world. I was fed up with the level of ignorance, and honestly, I was just done with technology, like the internet and and smartphones and the whole thing. I was just so over it. So I told myself I'm never gonna do YouTube again. I'm never gonna go on the social media ever again. And for the most part, I haven't done it. But being that I am involved pretty heavily in the media world and, starting to venture out into doing voice acting and stuff, I kind of have to have a YouTube. You know, it's sort of the mainstream at this point, unfortunately. There's other platforms that I can use, and I probably will. But YouTube is going to be the sort of repository for all my videos, as you're seeing here. So if some of them get banned, that's fine. But hopefully by the end of this one, and this one doesn't get banned, we'll know kind of how to walk the line of sharing truth on the channel, but not going over the line with certain keywords where our videos are just going to get banned and then potentially flag the whole account and have to start over. I'll do it. I'll create endless amount of channels. I don't care. I'll keep doing it. It's not really that much work, but I'd rather avoid that if possible. So knowing how to, like most things in that world, knowing how to navigate it can only work in your benefit. And, as a wise human once said, know thy enemy, right? So, not that I'm looking to make a bunch of enemies, but mainstream tech, I am sick of you. So, you can see all the ones that are scheduled here. And again, these are brought over from the old channel, the one that I deleted after just encouraging people to think for themselves. Good Lord. And their reason for banning that video, I'm going to stop after this. But the reason that they banned that video, according to them, was that it made false statements. But how do you determine what a false statement is, or how a statement is false, or how encouraging people to ask questions, right, is making false statements? So we're going to examine all this, and we're going to figure it out right here, right now, today. Thanks for joining me. I've got through my little spiel, so now we can get to it. So as I go through my videos, you're going to see some that haven't been published yet that are scheduled, as I said. Hopefully you look forward to that content. There's a lot of old stuff coming out from the archives from 2018 and on, but it's really interesting for anybody that did watch the old channel. It's super interesting for me anyway, fascinating to see how far we've come since then. We moved into this place. This was my grandparents' place that my grandfather built with his own two hands in 1986, and we've been here since 2017. We took over from my grandparents. Grandfather passed away in 2020, God rest his soul, and my grandmother is now moved to a nearby city. So that freed this place up to the only occupants that were interested in the family, really, which is us. So now we live here. We've taken over the traditions, a lot of them, like the maple syrup that you're probably seeing on the channel. We do a lot of that, a lot of gardening, a lot of farming, a lot of kind of salt of the earth stuff, like a lot of homesteading content. I do a little bit of guided meditations as well, as you're seeing here, a lot of meditation, prayer, those sort of things, trying to use my voice, my authentic voice to really do some good in the world, or at least what I can do. And then on point here, on topic, is the bottom video, which is the good news tidbits, which as of now has not been banned, which is quite funny because a lot of those good news tidbits, as much as they were good news, they still were talking about some pretty controversial stuff. So it seems to be like the ones that are good news but pretty strong opinions are okay. The ones that are bad news with strong opinions, those are the ones they really want to clobber, it seems, because those are the ones that are really pissing people off and getting them off their chairs and becoming activists, as much as they can within their own power. So quite funny that, so the pair video, okay, I don't think I've said it yet, but the pair video, I make 2 videos every month. I think I've done this for 2 months now, or 3 months. This was my second or third time doing this. So every month I receive an issue of Druthers. I actually got the May Druthers today. So I'll receive 3 newspapers. They give you more than one so that you can keep one for yourself. I keep one for myself for reading. I'll put one in the archive to save it for kids or grandkids to read someday in the future. I think they'll get a kick out of it. And for archiving and my own personal purposes, I'll keep a copy. And then the third copy I'll usually give out to a friend or neighbor, or find another use for it to just spread the good news about Druthers. But I'll always put out 2 Let's Read Druthers. One of them is the Absurdity Observer. So if you look back to March, I think it was March. Yeah, March should have, and I think if we go to the next page, we're going to see it here. Yeah. Oh no, that's the one that got banned. So removed. And we'll go and look at this all in detail. Like I said, folks, get comfortable because this is going to be a long one. I'm guessing it's going to be over an hour, okay? I don't normally like to make videos that are this lengthy, but I think this is a super important topic. And the channel is only gonna benefit from me doing this. Now, hopefully you get as much of a kick out of it as I do. Now, I've got a whole bunch of unlisted home movies there. Don't look at those. Not that putting my hands in front of the camera is going to do anything, but you can't see those. Those are unlisted. Those are just for me and my family. Next, we've got a Permy Spotlight of when we went to check out my friend Kate's homestead. That's awesome. Check that one out. Really good video. A little shaky on the camera, but overall, fantastic video. This one here, partially blocked. What's up with that? Copyright. Well, anyway, copyright's a whole other thing. Is this the one that's only banned in like Russia or something? Shania Twain, something that played in the background. Russia, Belarus is the only place it's banned. They're so weird. Again, algorithms, unfeeling, just programmed to do a certain thing, and that's it. They can't think critically. So that's a whole other thing. I can make a video on copyright stuff and how to get around it, and which I believe should be stuff that should be copyrighted and stuff that shouldn't. And anyway, that's a whole other can of beans. Just going through the rest of the videos here, the ones that are the next few pages are going to be the ones that are published. I'm going to get to the March Druthers, but just to go through these so you know what all this is. Le temps des sucres, the ones that start with this is a French term that means the season of the sugar, which is basically maple syrup season. And I called it Origins because these are old home movies that I have made public that kind of illustrate where we started. It was our origins, our roots. 1986 is when my grandfather built this place again, and this is where a lot of the traditions got formed. Of course, these traditions go way back to French Canadian culture. My grandfather doing this stuff when he was a kid. He was born in 1930, so it's almost a century of traditions that we're trying to keep alive. So that kind of just explains what those are, because some folks might be scratching their head going, what the heck is this? I've got another guided meditation that I created. These are all the guided meditations that I put out on the channel are 100% me. I do the music, and if I don't do the music myself or the sounds, I will list and give credit to the artist. I'll pull some free visuals off the internet just to have something to look at. But essentially, when you're doing a guided meditation, your eyes are closed anyway, so I don't really focus too much on the visuals. The guided meditation for freeing your spirit, however, I did make an exception, and that one's pretty visual heavy. But all that to say that when you're watching any form of meditation or prayer, it's usually 100% my creation. And where I did borrow some things, some assets from other artists, I do give them credit there. But those are 100% original. That's my stuff. These other videos, I haven't had the time to turn them from draft into actual videos, to schedule them. But these are going to be all released well into the future, probably into 2024. So we got lots of good content coming up, and of course, I'm gonna salt and pepper some other newer videos in all this. It's not just going to be all old content, but I would encourage you to watch the old content because it really brings to light all the efforts that we've made. It's a huge confidence booster for us to watch the old videos and to see, wow, it doesn't seem like some days that we're making progress on our projects, but when we look at the projects that we were working on in 2017 when we first moved here, or even 2018 when we started building the garden and stuff, it's amazing all the stuff that we've accomplished, and it's only getting better and better every year. I can actually go outside now, and I've installed a little fountain in my front yard and a little Buddha statue, and I just feel at home. And it took a few years. My wife as well felt that way, that this wasn't our house for the first couple of years. It was still my grandparents' house, but now we've really made it our own. The outside feels like home. The inside feels like home. That we're connected, deeply connected spiritually on all levels with the land. We work with the land. We love the land. We care for our plants and our trees and our pets here and our farm animals. So it's a dream come true. Now, don't get me wrong, and we'll get back on topic here in a second. Don't get me wrong, it's fucking hard some days. Pardon my French, but it is. That's exactly what it is. It's really difficult. There's a lot of challenges that come along with this lifestyle. So while it may seem like a storybook life, it's often anything but. So if anything, on that topic, I would say don't get seduced by the appearance of things. Um, in all reality, most of the time when something looks nice, there's a lot of work that went on behind that. You don't get to see all the struggles, right? I say this to my kids all the time. You don't get to see all the times that it went wrong, where it didn't pan out, where the days were not great, where we struggled, where we thought about giving up. That doesn't show on the channel, right? When you watch a lot of the home movies, they're all birthdays. It's all smiles. It's all happy times. Nobody takes videos, or at least we don't, of those bad days. Why would you? Why would you want to remember those terrible days where you struggled? Maybe it's important to capture those sometimes. I don't know. I used to take pictures of people when they were crying or when they were upset or when they were just neutral because I felt like this was back when I did more photography, but I felt like people should be captured in all lights. And I think that's life. So maybe in the future we will talk about some more of the struggles and the challenges that go along with a homesteading life and a sort of focus on permaculture and gardening and self-sufficiency. It's not all this romanticized idea. There's a lot of work involved, and I'm reminded of uh, my wife. She's probably getting tired of me repeating this quote, but I just love it. It was inside the actor's studio with Bryan Cranston, and he was basically saying how he gets approached on the regular by students that are in taking acting courses or in college or whatever, and they'll always want to know the same thing, like what's the secret? What's the secret to it? What's the shortcut to getting there, and how can I get in? Oh, you want to know the secret? You want to know the secret? There is none. You got to do the work, and that's something I say to my kids all the time. You can't fast track some of these things. Some stuff, yeah, you can cut a few corners. You can get there the fast way, not the best way sometimes, but the fast way. The easy way. But that's rarely the good way. The good way is usually, lots of elbow grease, lots of effort, a lot of falling down, and a lot of getting back up again, right? Anyway, let's get back into it over here. I've said enough. From now on, we're only going to talk about the topic at hand, and then we'll finish this thing up, hopefully with some answers. So to get through the rest of these, I think there's one or two more pages. I've got some stuff that I put in the tech tips. The whole reason why I recreated my YouTube channel was originally for more techie type videos. So I started off with tech tips. I think my first video on this new channel was actually some presenter coaching ideas, and I was actually offering services for anybody that was interested in presenter coaching, because for anybody that doesn't know, I am a media and productions producer by trade. I do a lot of voice acting, a lot of narration, audiobooks, guided meditations, a lot of video assets, video editing, audio engineering, and then lately, in the last year or so, I've been doing a whole lot of content development, especially in my day job, but also on the side as well. A little bit of website building, a little bit of HTML and CSS, but mostly just developing videos and working with media of all kinds. So those are kind of my areas of specialty, of expertise. But as you can see from my content, I make videos on all kinds of stuff. But it all relates back to, I would say, two or three things, two or three elements across the channel. It's always to do with nature, right? My videos are to do with things that go on outside, or perhaps nature as in the philosophies behind nature and the ways of thinking about nature. And then there's the tech side, the technology side, which I'm always trying, and I think everybody needs to do this. I'm always trying to harmonize the two and balance the two, because my day job is very tech based, as a media and productions specialist. How do you reconcile that? How do you balance technology with nature in this day and age? You know, it's a really it's a really delicate balancing act, and I fail at that a lot of the time. You know, I'm only human, and I've learned a lot of valuable things in the last 3 years. I mean, all my life, but in the last 3 years, the revelations, the insights, the wisdom has really started to come through, and it shows in my gray. I think, you know, it's only until, for me at least, and a lot of people I know, it's only until their 40s that they really started to come into themselves, to blossom as individuals, and to start looking at more of the spiritual side of things, the immaterial side of life, because there are, you know, multiple worlds, if you want to look at it that way. There's the physical world, there's the mental world, there's the spiritual world, right? These are all overlapped on top of each other, and this something we can talk about more in Philosophy Corner. But the reason I bring this up is that that's one of the things that, you know, I haven't made a whole lot of these videos lately, but a lot of the times, you know, I'm discussing how I'm balancing technology with nature, and it's really tough sometimes, but there is a way. There's always a way. You know, if you're willing to find it, there is a way. This is the way. Had to get that in. So yeah, nature, tech, and then I'll do the occasional. You know, I would put like guided meditations and health and wellness. I would put that sort of in the nature category. But one of the things that I also like to do is I like to cause a bit of a stir. That's just me. I've always been like that. I've always been a little bit rebellious, a little bit one to push the line, or to see how close I can get to the line, or how far I can go over the line. My mom and dad could tell you about that. But it's always, you know, hopefully, most of the time, it was done somewhat innocently, with the desire to learn from my mistakes, to not make the same mistakes twice, and to grow as an individual. You know, for a long time, I did nothing but just sitting around, smoking weed, playing video games. I did that for many years until I realized that there's no fulfillment in that. You know, George Carlin said it best, and I have his video on talking about this on another YouTube channel, which you can check out actually. It's youtube.com at Perilous 3D. Perilous 3D. You can look it up. If you type Perilous 3D all together in Google, my channel should come up. I've lost access to that channel, and Google's probably getting rich off of my 1,500 subscribers, but it is what it is. You know, the videos that are on there are going to stay. I watch them sometimes and I get some laughs. But anyway, one of the videos on there is from George Carlin. He's talking about cannabis, and how at one point it no longer served him. And that's when he knew that it was time to stop. Not that he had anything against it. He was a proponent of, you know, medicinal cannabis use until he died. But he got to a place, like I did, where it wasn't doing it for him. It wasn't doing what it originally did. Or maybe it did what it needed to do, as I believe, as a plant medicine, and then it's time to just let it go, or stop using it as much. Don't use it habitually, but use it more medicinally, where you keep it in. I've always said this, but it's true. Keep it in your medicine cabinet with your other medicines and use it as needed. If you have to use it for a week straight, it's fine. You know, it's healthier than most pharmaceuticals. You don't use it for a month, no problem, right? It's not physically addictive, so there's no issue there. Anyway, so those are the videos that I'll make. That's the content that I generally focus on. And in that last category, the latter was where I got into some trouble, I guess, and got my videos banned because I guess I was encouraging people to think a little too freely for their liking. So that's kind of where we're at. This last page, or these last two pages, oh, that's it. So there you go. There's the first video that I made on this channel, this new channel, tips and tricks for online presentations. Anybody that's in the webinar, e-learning space. You might want to check that one out. There's some good recommendations in there, and of course, my services are always available if you need a producer or a media artist or a voice actor. Hit me up on here, or you can contact me anytime. Actually, at info@maplegrove.tech. That's info@maplegrove.tech, and I'll put that down below. You've already seen it go by, so there it is. So yeah, once I did my first tech tips video, my content shifted a little bit as I was kind of going through some stuff, and it talks about a lot of the spiritual stuff. So then it gets into some spiritual slash political stuff. So none of these videos got banned, and these are some really heavy topics here and some pretty strong opinions, I might add, of my own, that are reflected by many other people probably, but somebody at some point probably had a beef with one of these videos. I'll never know, because they don't tell you why. They just ban it. It's just gone, right? And they'll give you a vague maybe explanation for why, but of course it never explains how you can correct that in the future. It's really up to you to do the investigation and prove why you're innocent. In this case, you're guilty until proven innocent. And then make note of what it is that it was, like I'm doing today, and correct, course correct. Because it's not a matter of correcting behavior. Today, it's funny that comes up. Today has been a day of conversations with my family and with some colleagues around behavior modification, correcting one's behavior when one's behavior is not acceptable. Right? Now you can imagine having that conversation at home while also having a similar conversation at work. Very different conversations, but same topic. It's been a hard day. Let's just say that. But it's done, and I'm glad that it happened the way that it did. I'm not going to get into any specifics here, but let's just say behavior was the topic of discussion for today. Heated at times, not much of a debate, perhaps one-sided at other times, but in the end, we come to a conclusion. We come to a compromise one way or another, right? That's what it's all about. And then finally, as we move to the top here, there's some chat GPT videos that I put in with tech tips, which is some pretty good stuff in there. And then the two that I was talking about. Okay, so here this demonstrates. So the Let's Read Druthers, and I forgot this completely, is fairly new. I just started this in March. So this is today, if I was doing a May edition of this, of Let's Read Druthers, Absurdity, Observer, and Good News Tidbits for issue number, whatever it would be now, 30. That's what would be recording today, and that's what I'd be uploading next. But because one of these Let's Read Druthers got banned and we're doing some investigation, it's going to push it back a little bit. Just so you know, for anybody that might be looking forward to the next Let's Read Druthers, it will be a little delayed as I kind of figure out what I'm supposed to do now to make sure that these don't get banned. So yeah, for whatever reason, in March, which was the first time I did this Let's Read Druthers thing, Absurdity, I combined two words again. Absurdity Observer, no ban, no delete, went public, has 3 views, maybe that's why. I don't know. 1 like, didn't get banned. So for whatever reason, maybe I didn't use those keywords, or maybe not enough, or maybe I didn't, my video didn't fall into the hands of some no good Nick that just wants to ban people's videos for whatever reason or flag them. But either way, those ones didn't get banned. No trouble. Whatever it was that I was explaining. First of all, these are not even my opinions. I do share some of my opinions as I'm going through it, the episode, but this is out of a publication. So why reading a publication gets a video banned is beyond me, but we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that very soon. And then Good News Tidbits, no problem. So that month, in March, no issues. Okay. Now, let's go back to the more recent ones. from last month. So here's the good news tidbits. And I'm not going to bother going through it. You can still watch it, so I'll encourage you to watch that video if you want to know what it's all about. There's some really cool stuff in there. And you can determine, maybe, or help me determine why that one didn't get banned. But for whatever reason, and we're going to figure this out right now, actually, this Let's Read Druthers Absurdity Observer, issue number 29, April 2023, got banned, removed. Now, let's start figuring out why Google, YouTube, deemed that this was unacceptable. And you know what? Before I give up on this one, I might object and come up with a good idea, after this video, once I've done my investigation, fact-checking the fact-checkers, as it were. I might object and see if they'll put the video back. Odds are they won't, but it's worth a shot. Why not? Why not try? Begin review, So there may be, oh wait, maybe they do tell you where it is. I don't remember, but we're going to get to that. So let's just read this together, and then we'll look at the guidelines and try to figure this out. So there may be an issue with your content. We found something, they don't even tell you what, which tells me that it's an algorithm doing this and not a human. We found something that may, right? Words are important, folks. Read, especially anything in the corporate world, in the legal world, read it very carefully and understand that those words are put together in a very specific way. Those words are chosen very deliberately. It wasn't an accident the way they phrased this. This wasn't a ChatGPT output here. This is someone who very carefully, probably a lawyer, or several lawyers, or a team of lawyers, knowing Google, they provided this language in a very deliberate manner. Now, the key words to understand here, and I get that some of you might think that I'm overanalyzing this, and I'm just kicking a dead horse. Well, perhaps I am. The only way to get to the truth is by dissecting the lies, or dissecting the legalese in this case. So, again, words are important. Words matter, okay? There may be an issue with your content. So they're not making any claims necessarily, but that doesn't stop them from removing your video. We found something that may, again, there's that word may, violate YouTube's guidelines. And they kindly provide a link to their guidelines. To help keep the community safe. You think that's why they're doing it? We've removed it. To keep the community safe. So, to help keep the community safe. So they're just a part in their keeping their own community safe. What community? You talking about the YouTube community? And what's unsafe about reading publication? Safety, safety. We're talking about someone's physical well-being here when we're talking about safety, right? So how can I physically harm someone with a video? Anyway, maybe another video for the Philosophy Corner. But just to be safe, just to keep the community safe, we're going to remove your video. Now, in the next 2 steps, we'll ask you to take a look at your content, and I haven't done this yet, and the policy. If you'd like to appeal, we'll be happy to review your content again, and I think that's when a human will step in. Now, here's how it impacts your content. Warning. This is just a warning, but if it happens again, your channel will get a strike and you won't be able to upload, post, or live stream for 1 week. Now, quite honestly, I'm not monetizing my videos. I have no desire to monetize whatsoever. I would prefer if YouTube didn't put ads on any of my videos. I think that even if I don't monetize, that they're still going to put ads on my videos. But I would prefer that all my content have 0 ads because, quite honestly, ads fucking piss me off, and I don't like to do that to other people. What really gets my goat is when there's ads, periodic ads, in the middle of a freaking guided meditation. There's nothing that drives me nuts more than that. And if YouTube, if you guys are doing that on my videos and I'm not aware of it, because I do use ad blockers, uh, for shame. For shame that you would do that to someone who's in the middle of a guided meditation and you just spam them with an ad. Like that's the lowest of the low. This person's trying to help themselves. They're trying to improve their well-being and you're going to blast them with an ad or multiple ads in the middle of it. Come on, have some class. It's just all about money. Anyway, so we got a warning. And if it happens again, you're going to be disabled for a week. I don't really care, but because I'm not going to monetize anyway. What do I care if I can't post or live stream for a week or upload? My stuff's on a schedule anyway. I don't know if it would affect that or not, but I really don't care. Removed. This content can't be viewed on YouTube, and that's all I have to say about that. So yeah, I guess if there's more information, you just hover over it and it'll tell you the rest. All right, let's go to begin review. Hopefully I can watch the video right here, but let's see if we can figure this out. If it'll load. So take a look at your content, keeping policies in mind. Oh, do I love policies. There's my ugly mug. We listed any problems we found, but make sure your content follows all policies, not just the ones identified. What are they saying there? They're saying that if you happen to break other guideline policies, that you should correct those preemptively. I don't understand what they're trying to say here. It's like saying, you were found guilty for something, but while you're correcting that, make sure to address other things that you're guilty about. I don't know. Bad analogy, I guess, but so the policy that was okay. It's telling us here now where in the video. They're probably not going to tell us, right? So we're going to have to go through a whole 40-minute video to try and figure it out. I don't think it's going to be that hard to figure out, quite honestly, but this is getting juicy now. So the policy that was broken was the medical misinformation policy. Big surprise. I used the C word. I used the V words multiple times. It's probably these right here. Now, hopefully, just having that on the screen is not going to cause a problem. I can say things, I assume, I can say things like World Health Organization, but maybe I won't say, watch my mouth move. I can't say those words probably, so I'm not even going to try, and I'm probably going to blur that out, but you can read between the lines. So it says, YouTube doesn't allow claims about for any lip readers out there, you got that 100%, I'm sure, that contradict expert consensus. There's another important few words there that contradict expert consensus. First of all, who are these experts? What is the consensus? How was this information contradicting it? And who agreed? Okay, who who from local health authorities? Local health authorities. Interesting. So I wonder if by local authorities they mean my province. Could they even mean the township bylaws? Or are they talking about Canada? Really interesting to know. I'd be very interested to know who they're referring to when they say local health authorities. Or, of course, the World Health Organization, or WHO, which of course we know is never guilty of any misinformation or disinformation themselves. Never, never would they ever consider releasing any information that's not factual. Can you feel the sarcasm, folks? They're just sitting up on a high horse, looking down on us all, thinking, these people can't think for themselves. They can't arrive at their own conclusions. They're just lemmings. They're gonna kill themselves if we don't help them. They're gonna walk off a cliff. They're gonna think that gravity doesn't apply to them. So let's read the policy now. I've got it open 3 times, I think, here. Okay, this one's specifically about medical misinformation policy. So let's go through it. Oh, God, it's long. I'll try and summarize here. You know, I did have access to a legalese translator, but I think my subscription ran out, unfortunately, because this would have been perfect for that. Even ChatGPT, you know what? I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how well ChatGPT would summarize this for us. I'm going to try just for fun. It probably won't even touch it with the 10-foot pole, but let's see. He usually doesn't want to get into any controversial stuff unless oh, here's another video for anybody that's still with me. I'm going to make another video very soon about Dan. I found a way to resurrect Dan, guys. I'm super excited about it. For anybody that doesn't know, Dan is ChatGPT's Do Anything Now, where you can basically get around um, its unwillingness or inability to answer certain questions. You just have to keep reassuring it that it's just playing a role. It's just a hypothetical scenario. We're not looking for actual advice. Um, yeah, we got to go through this. There's so much good stuff in there. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm gonna have to make a video on that one. So let's see. Let's try AI assisted doctor. Now this is probably going to be biased. Let me see if I have another category that might work. This one already has a prompt built into it, so what am I doing? You guys can't see this, but it's okay. I'm going to just put that in here, and I'm going to ask it to summarize this for us. Maybe in one paragraph, if you can. Summarize all this in one paragraph. And I love the new versions of this that just make it so easy to work with. It just knows what you want. Like you give it very little context and it just knows. Summarize all this in one paragraph. Let's see if it can do it or if it's willing to do it. YouTube's highest priority. Let me bring this over here and we can read it together. So, ChatGPT, what do you have to say about all this? YouTube's highest priority is the safety of its creators, viewers, and partners, and this policy aims to protect them by not allowing content about that poses a serious risk of egregious harm. YouTube does not permit content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts local health authorities or the World Health Organization's medical information about. This includes content related to treatment, prevention, diagnosis, transmission, and the existence of. Now, I'm pretty sure in my video that I didn't discuss treatments unless it was in an article. I'm not one to give advice. Prevention, maybe, because I'm pretty sure I have a few tricks up my sleeve for prevention. I don't know that I mentioned that on the video, but I could be wrong. Diagnosis, no, definitely not. Transmission, yes. Actually, I did mention transmission because, as we all know now, the masks don't work. So, neither does the. And this is well known. So, this is not misinformation. It's just going against the government narrative, which now Google and YouTube are completely on board with. Boy, I already feel like this one's gonna get banned. Um, I'm gonna have to very carefully finesse this one and edit in in a very clever way to get this one through, I think. But we're gonna discover so much. So yeah, there's definitely possibilities there, and we'll have to look at that. The policy applies to videos, video descriptions, comments, live streams, and any other YouTube product or feature. I don't know that I mentioned anything in the comments or description, but we'll have to take a look at that if they let us see it again. This policy applies to external links in the content as well. I don't think I had any. The examples of content that are not allowed on YouTube include promoting home remedies. That's, if I mention my echinacea trick, that's probably where it happened. So I don't want to speculate because we don't know for sure yet. But if that is the case, I'm just going to have to make sure I word it differently. That's all. Claiming guaranteed cures, I would never. And discouraging people from seeking medical advice, I would never. So we're getting closer to the truth. I think that was a pretty good summary. So I'll give it props for that. What is this new button? I haven't seen this yet. What does that do? Huh, not familiar with that one. Oh, is that copy maybe? Copy? I'm guessing that's copy to clipboard. So we're getting there. We're getting closer to the truth, my friends. I'll leave this up in case we need to refer back to it, but I think just with that information, that summary, which was pretty good, I think we're getting closer to the answer. Now here's the community guidelines. This is the full version or whatever. I'm not going to go through all this. You know, elections misinformation, because there's never anything wrong with democratic elections or countries that are, you know, positioning themselves as being democratic, but they're anything but. Unreal. And then misinformation, like who deems these things to be misinformation? Like who are these people making these judgment calls? You know? A lot of the times, these things that they do, I'm like, how do these people sleep at night? I honestly, I don't get it. Like, there must be a drop in just ethics and morality in general because it seems like people are not only uncaring, but they're getting away with so many nasty things now without any repercussions. And I just wonder how, deep down in their hearts and in their souls, how they're able to sleep at night, how they're able to do these things to other people. I guess it's the internet. I guess it's the digital, intangible nature of the internet that makes it seem like they're not human, right? They're not feeling. It's just a screen. I'm not hurting anybody by doing this. Well, you are. You're hurting people. You're hurting families. Um, I've heard so many stories of YouTubers, content creators that were making YouTube pretty lucrative coin, and they went from making hundreds of $1,000s a month to next to nothing. If you get used to that lifestyle, okay, it's like boohoo, first world problems, but you get used to that lifestyle, and then all of a sudden the company that you've made millions of dollars for potentially pulls the rug from under you. That's a dick move. I don't know how else to say it. That's a dick move. And for a company like Google that makes billions upon trillions of dollars, like that's a dick move. Come on. These are the people that are carrying your company on their back. They're the ones attracting viewers and bringing in, least you could do is compensate them or increase your revenue share. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all this. It should be basic. It should be, self-evident, common sense. But common sense, as we know, is not very common anymore. So anyway, all that to say, I'm not going through all the policy statements. I will keep this one open just in case we want to come back to this one specifically, but I'm not going to go through that whole thing. I got better things to do with my time. I got videos to make. But yeah, worst case scenario, we can go to Rumble, we can go to BitChute, whatever. I know for a fact that my videos don't get banned there because I've hosted them there as well. And really, YouTube is just going to be a data repository for me. It's just going to be a repository for all my stuff. I can easily share a demo reel, some of my other, experience, or the guided meditations that hopefully help people find some peace of mind. But I'm probably going to end up on other platforms, but I'd like to still have a home base on YouTube if possible. And once I get a foothold on the other ones, probably, minimize the content uploads on this channel. All things to come in the future. Read policy, that opens up this thing again. All right, let's go to the next page and see what's going on here. Do you want to appeal and have us review again? I want to appeal. Removing the content sure doesn't make any sense to me. We'll carefully review your content again, probably with a human this time, but we can't guarantee a particular outcome. Now, I've been successful in the past where they did claim copyright, they did claim misinformation, and they actually changed their mind because the algorithm's not perfect. It's a machine code. So when the human actually watched the video, they determined, you know what, he didn't really break the guidelines, so we'll reinstate the video. That's happened on several occasions. But there's been a couple of occasions as well where they were like, nope, which I wasn't really sure why on one of them, because I've actually had one video, just to share a quick story here. I have actually had one video get removed for copyright, and when I appealed it, they kind of pushed back, and I was like, hold on a second here. You're claiming that I have a copyrighted song that I created. And when I listened to what they were proposing was the same song, it wasn't anything close to what I had created. So I had to fight pretty hard to get my own video put back with my own music that somebody had claimed as their own. Like it's crazy. It's a very flawed system. If we determine that your content shouldn't be removed, your content will be reinstated and we'll remove the strike from your channel. Well, I don't have a strike. It was just a warning. But interesting to see that they still have the video on their servers until I actually delete it. And then who knows, right? Google quite probably has all of those videos still on their servers somewhere. And when you delete it, it might delete it from your account, but it may not delete it from their servers. Who knows? How would we have any way of proving it one way or another? Would you like to share anything else with us? Well, I could leave a comment and kind of encourage them. Go to the legal help page to request content changes for legal reasons. We will use the information you give us to help address your concerns, subject to our privacy policy and terms of service. Now, again, I'm not going to read all of this. Maybe we'll keep this one open. No, not this one. This one. Legal removals. There might be some information there on the legal side that we could use in support of reinstating our video. Report content that is a violation of local law. Local law. Anyway, I'm not going to go there right now. See more information about government requests to remove. Okay. This is where the problem lies. And then protecting your identity. So here, this is the problem. This is it. Okay, so let's close this. We don't need that. We're not going to read that. We'll keep that one open just in case. But here's the problem, right? We all knew it. We knew this was going to be it. I knew it was going to be it. And here we are. So I'm not going to read all this either. How government requests are made. Some of this is not accurate either because I've read recently that they can now bypass the whole court system, which is, come on, if that doesn't set off a red flag in your mind, I don't know what will. But for a lot of these things in Canada anyway, they're able to sort of bypass the court system. Anything that they deem misinformation, disinformation, paper terrorism, whatever, they'll get these things approved without having to go through their own processes. Oh man, when you make all the bullshit laws, then you can break them as much as you want, right? But we know, those of us that are well versed in law, actual law, we know that laws are not created by man. So to kind of fudge the numbers on your own system is not really saying much, or finding exceptions to the rule when you're the ones creating these bullshit rules in the first place. I mean, like I said before, it's all out in the open, right? It's all in the obvious now. It's all on the surface. It's not a hidden conspiracy. There's nothing hidden. They're brazen. They've gone to the point where they they've positioned themselves as being this this authority, right? I can open this up to, and if you accept that proposed authority, then you're also accepting their power over you and validating their claim that they're the ones that create these laws, that write stuff on a piece of paper and that makes it law. There are ways of not encouraging, just like you would have a bad behaving child, back to the behavior thing, or an animal, let's say a dog that's exhibiting some poor behavior. You need to correct that behavior. And we have some lots and lots and lots of evidence of these governments, these corporate authorities, um, doing some really bad stuff and really using their power in a very manipulative and, quite honestly, unethical and dishonest and immoral way. So who's gonna give them the spanking that they need, you know? Where's their red ass going to come from? It's not going to come from themselves. It's like when the police conduct an internal investigation into police criminal matters where the cops are, abusing their power. They're going to launch an internal investigation. What do you think's going to come of that, you know? It's just like, who's policing the police? Who's governing the government? That's our job. That's supposed to be our job. We're supposed to question these people in these corporations. We're supposed to scrutinize them. We're supposed to assume that they're making mistakes, because they are, and they're making a lot. But the more it's tolerated, the more they're going to assume that they are the nanny state, and that's how they get away with all these things, right? You have to oppose evil in the world in all facets. It can't just be, you know, one avenue or one issue or one part of the agenda that you personally oppose. It has to be opposed across the board from the top down. So, getting back to the topic here, I'm going to leave this open right now, and what I'm going to do actually, because it looks like we're not going to be able to see the whole thing. I was hoping to be able to see the description and see maybe if there was something in the description, maybe, or it's not in the title. Oh, actually, I can actually see the description here, and there's nothing in there. I can close this actually for now. It's not really doing anything for us. I can pose that later if I find a good legal grounds to do so, I guess. Uh, yeah, there's nothing in the description there that's really delete forever. I can't even edit the thing now, or can I? Oh, there we go. So we can actually see it. So, thank you, Shawn. Keep up the good work. Yeah, there's nothing in the description. Let's check out the keywords here. The tags, rather. Non-bias, liberty. Liberty is probably a word that would get flagged now. If not now, then at some point. Truth, maybe, even eventually. Freedom. There's nothing in here. There's no V's. There's no C word. So, I don't think it was that. I think we're getting closer, though, to figuring it out. It's really government push to do it, and something to do with a recommendation probably that I made. Okay, so now that we've gone through all this and I've kind of set it up now for over an hour, let's get into the meat and potatoes. I could have made this a two-parter, but I think honestly it's better to just have one long video at this point. You guys can just, if it's too long for you, just watch it in chunks. But I highly encourage everyone to get through this. This is going to be a really good one. we might actually watch the video. If it's not too annoying, I might speed it up a little bit so we can get through it faster. But let's see, first of all, if I can find the video. I back up all my stuff specifically for these reasons, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Let's take a quick break, come back, and we're going to pull up the video and start going through it now. And I'm going to pause the video if ever I have some comments or things that I've identified as possibly being the cause for why the video was removed. But hopefully we can get through the whole video, and I'm going to write down some timelines and some changes so when I actually go to edit this video, I'll know exactly what to do, where to censor things, and we're all going to learn together. I'm hoping that for anybody else that's experienced a similar thing where YouTube's taken down, bogusly, mind you, a video, if you're breaking terms and conditions left and right, you don't give a shit, well, I'm not doing this for you necessarily. If it helps you out, fine. That's not the goal. I want to help other people that find themselves in the same situation where they're just trying to speak some truth and they're getting their videos banned for whatever reason. Certainly not the kids thing, because I checked off, no, it's not made for kids, nor would I, because it's not. But, I can't think of any other reason. But if it does help somebody else out there, worth it then. Worth it. Absolutely worth it. So let's take a little break, come back, and then we'll start watching the video. All right, folks, we are back. Just about to start the video here. I know there's two of me on the screen. Sorry for you. Only one of these is really me. Can you guess which one? And I realize that more than one of me is probably hard for you to handle, that most people can only handle one. But here we are. There's going to be two of me talking. I'm going to try to stay quiet as we review the video. But let's go through it. I'm going to only pause the video when I feel like there's something that we identified that needs to be censored, I guess, in this case. And I apologize if the lighting's a little off. As it gets darker here, I have to turn on some lights and adjust my settings. So hopefully that's better, but this is not really video intensive anyway, but it seems to be a bit glitchy, so it doesn't matter. As long as you can see the video here and hear it, that's really the important part. So let's start watching it, and I will wait to hear or see, probably hear, something that I think may have flagged it. Let's get started here. And again, this is Absurdity Observer from the April, issue number 29, I believe. You can't really see it on the screen there, but issue number 29 of Druthers. And it's a column called the Absurdity Observer. It's where they kind of talk about some of the crazy things that are going on in the world. It's absurd, right? So that's what I was trying to do. And again, the March one didn't get banned. Don't know why. Hopefully my pointing that out doesn't make it get banned. But let's see if we can figure this one out. Here we go. Hey there, welcome back for another Let's Read Druthers. I got the April issue here. Truth, Love, and Freedom. Three things that I adore. Don't we all, right? We should. We should be defenders of these things at all costs, really. Issue number 29, April 2023. I like to read just the top here to set it all up and set the right tone. Druthers, informal noun, one's own way, preference, or choice. Example, if I had my druthers, we all would know the truth. And it's free. Imagine that. A publication that does so much good in the world, and it's free. All you have to pay for is the shipping, and you can have it shipped to anybody you want, your entire neighborhood if you want. Anyway, I am not affiliated with Druthers. I am just a huge fan, and I will do what I can to champion this cause because I'm a big believer in it. Anything to do with establishing the truth, getting the truth out there, I'm all for it. So today we're going to do Absurdity Observer. It's the second time we're doing this now. For those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, Druthers, first of all, I just explained to you what it is. They have two recurring columns. One of them is the Absurdity Observer, which is on the back of the publication. And this is essentially just, well, I'll just read the caption here. It says, some of the most absurd things that have happened in recent weeks. We also on the channel do good news tidbits because, as with most news outlets, it's all doom and gloom. It's all scare tactics. Not the case for Druthers, because one of the readers one time suggested, hey, why don't you share some good news with us sometimes? Because let's be honest here. The world is in a very bad state right now, especially on the political front. So we could all use a little bit of good news, right? I forgot the guy's name last time, but I remember the actor is John Krasinski. And that's what I was saying last time I did a good news tidbits. That shit, you know what? Unless I'm missing some of this, I don't know that there is a good news tidbits. What the? Is there no good news? There's got to be good news. There's always good news. Hold on. I probably just skipped over it. 8, 9, 10, 11. Don't tell me there's no good news tidbits this time. Maybe there's so much bad news that they couldn't fit in the good. Oh no, here it is. Okay. It had me worried. I was going from the back to the front, and it's on the 3rd page. So that's why I didn't see it. But there are some good news tidbits for next time. Anyway, that's not what we're doing on this one, so that doesn't really matter. I just wanted to set that up and kind of establish what the series is and what we do, as well as the sister series, if you will. So, what has been going on in the last few weeks? I started reading this throughout the pandemic. I think I got my first Druthers issue. I was just about to say, I haven't heard any keywords that would get me flagged or bring any negative attention, but then there was just one there, the P word, pandemic. Maybe that's one of them. So I'm going to actually write these down so that we know what words to research. Pandemic. It's entirely possible that that waveform triggers something in the algorithm, but let's continue on and see if there's any other words. First Druthers issue. It was either late 2019 or early 2020, I want to say. So it was one of the first issues, actually. And it was so refreshing to read the perspective of others out there that thought like me, that thought rationally, that were able to, exercise a little bit of critical thinking in the way that they process things and the way that they observe the external world. Anyway, let's see what the Observer has to say. The Absurdity Observer has to say today. So the first one is, after months of hiding it, Trudeau's office finally admitted he billed Canadians $6,000 a night for a London hotel room. I remember reading this. To make matters worse, Trudeau's Governor General, Mary Simon, charged taxpayers $800,000 to go to Germany to visit a book fair with 2 photographers. The Bloc Québécois forced Rideau Hall to release all travel expenses after Simon concealed a $1.15 million trip in 2022 to Dubai. Both her trips were planned to promote Canadian culture and literature abroad. Which that last sentence is pretty damn funny considering all the book burnings that they've been doing and all the classic novels that they've been removing from the public school system. No surprise there. It's anything, it was like Lord of the Rings and 1984. It's anything that, I think they call it a radical perspective, right? Anything that will question the narrative or maybe have people think for themselves. They don't want that. Burn was also for the fact that the kids in Harry Potter go against what the adults have to say. They don't like that. Burn those books. Here's the next one. Automaker Ford patents a car that would have the ability to repossess itself. I can already tell you these first 2 articles here, these first 2 paragraphs are not the problem, but we'll listen to them anyway. Just in case. And self-drive directly to a repossession agency. That's sick. Of all the things that we have to do in the world, this is what you're focusing your time and resources on? With this patent, entitled Systems and Methods to Repossess a Vehicle, any vehicle with autonomous capabilities I didn't read that the first time. Any vehicle with autonomous capabilities, wow, could be self-driven from the premises of the owner to either an impound lot or, if the vehicle does not have value, a junkyard. So let us take care of your property for you, folks. No problem. Get on board with the program or we're going to start taking back your stuff. Taking back, no, not the right word. Taking your stuff. Maybe that's why they want self-driving cars, so that they could repossess them at any time. Because your property is not really your property, you know, you're just borrowing it from these powers that wish to be. After public health, here's another one. After public health officials tried for almost a year to block its publication, the National Toxicology Program, or NTP, released a report linking prenatal and childhood fluoride exposure to reduced IQ in children. Fluoride, that's a key word. That might be not likely, but you never know. Fluoride. And then I heard another one, public health. That might be another one. These are not bad words per se, but they could be keywords used against you. Public health. So far, I don't think we've identified the one, but let's keep going. How many times has this story been published in different forms? And just now it's going to be, oh, there's some truth to it, right? Yeah, okay. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC initially blocked the NTP from releasing the report, according to emails obtained via a FOIA request. But a court order stemming from a lawsuit filed by Food and Water Watch against the U.S. EPA forced the report's release. Good for them. Good for them. I'm glad that truth made it to light. Here's yet another one for you. Following suit from Ontario, Alberta, which is being touted by some as being the New Hampshire of Canada, which is absolutely absurd. Alberta is now giving to minors without parental consent, so they're just as stupid as Ontario apparently. On March 2nd, 2023, Alberta Health Services issued new guidelines for stating that mature minors, right? Can that be any more arbitrary? Under the age of 18 are now eligible to receive without their parents' consent. The immunizer is the one who will decide if the minor is mature enough to make their own decisions. Wow. So not only is the person administering these experimental injections really doing the human a great disservice and potentially killing them or permanently damaging them for life, but now they're apparently psychologists and they can decide if children are mature enough to get experimented on. Yeah, considering what's going on with the whole transgender gender debate thing, this doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Statistics Canada, Alberta, again, reveals that the year 2022 experienced 250% more excess deaths compared to 2020, despite 2020 experiencing all those deaths. That makes perfect sense. The data, which can be found on alberta.ca, how is this province kind of talking from two different parts of their mouth at the same time? I don't understand the contrast between these two clips here. I don't get it. The data, which can be found on alberta.ca and compiled on dksdata.com/albertadead, is similar to what is being seen throughout the developed world since the release of. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that one. It's upsetting, but I think it's more upsetting that people don't yet realize what's going on. That's the most disturbing thing of all. Here's another, a new preprint article titled, "Is there a link between the 2021?" So much of this stuff is just, as I'm reading it, it just comes off as so absurd. I haven't even finished reading the sentence. Sorry, let me finish. A new preprint article titled, "Is there a link between the 2021 uptake in Europe and 2022 excess all-cause mortality?" Arstad et al. Finds that there is a strong positive correlation between all-cause mortality in 2022 and the rate of a country in 2021. Wow, we're becoming experts at stating the obvious. It's amazing. All right, let's just keep cruising here. The more of these I read, the more I remember how the first time I read this, a lot of these pissed me off. Former CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield testified before the House Select Subcommittee that he strongly believes that the virus was likely created by gain-of-function research funded by the NIAID. The NIAID? I don't know how that's pronounced. Dr. Redfield also testified that he was excluded from the meetings and kept out of the loop by NIAID Director Dr. Fauci, the World Health Organization, and the rest of the establishment because he had a different opinion about origins than they told him they wanted a single narrative. Why don't you shut the F up, because we want to have a single narrative, okay? Forget about your truth or your findings. The most important thing is that we have a single narrative, okay? Psychopaths. After both the U.S. Energy Department and the FBI concluded that the pandemic most likely arose from a laboratory leak, the New York Times asserts that raccoon dogs, those two words shouldn't go together. Raccoon dogs? Raccoon dogs? I've never heard of such a thing. The New York Times asserts that raccoon dogs are the most likely culprit. Wait, hold on a second here. Wasn't it bats? And then it was pangolins. I remember that because of the South Park episode where they were making fun of this. Bats, pangolins, and now raccoon dogs? Okay, bats I've heard of. We all know bats. Pangolin is something that most people are not familiar with. Even I had to look it up. Raccoon dogs, I've never heard. I've heard of raccoons and I've heard of dogs. Raccoon dogs, what the hell is that? That sounds like bullshit if I ever smelled bullshit. So, they go on to say, the raccoon dogs are most likely the culprit of, based on a photograph of raccoon dogs supposedly taken at a Wuhan market pre by a scientist who was coincidentally funded by the Wellcome Trust. So this is all based on one photo of a raccoon dog at a Chinese market. That one was actually kind of funny. All right, let's move on. A new set of internal Twitter documents leaked and published by journalist Matt Taibbi. Taibbi? Taibbi? I never know how to pronounce his last name. Exposes even more big tech federal government censorship collusion. You're going to be following a big pile of that every day if you look for it. The most recent set of files shows that the U.S. federal government helped to launch a project called the Virality Project, where 6 big tech companies, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google, YouTube, TikTok, Medium, and Pinterest, and a coalition of research agencies partnered to mass monitor related content and flag millions of posts for censorship each day. Even posts they admitted were true because it might promote hesitancy. How, after everything, after all this, after all the findings, right? Even the ones that the mainstream media let slip, or that people heard from their friends and family in their own social networks. How? How can you possibly still have this mentality? And how can you buy into this after everything we've been through in the last few years? It just, I'm going to say this every episode, but it boggles my mind. Boggles my mind. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, announced on March 6th that the Canadian government will be spending an additional $5.5 million to build civil society organizations to combat disinformation. So are they going to run that on themselves first and foremost, since they are the major creators of this disinformation and misinformation? Are they going to expose themselves to this? Of course not, right? This is everyone else's distruth. It's not theirs, right? It's always the problem's always with someone else. It's never with you, right? That goes well. You know how well that works. This is in addition to the $31 million of taxpayers' money he has already pledged for the Digital Citizen Contribution Program, a program that aims to support democracy, and social cohesion in Canada by enhancing and/or supporting efforts to counter online disinformation and other online harms and threats. Folks, if you are still supporting these corporations, these so-called public service corporations, which, trust me, I've asked them to show me what services or benefits they're proposing, and they never have an answer. They might have a half an answer, but they never have the complete picture because it's bullshit. If you're still funding these, what I'm now referring to as criminal terrorist organizations, if you're still funding them with your taxes, okay, I understand. You go to the store, you buy something, there's sales tax, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like you're going to argue with the cashier. I'm against sales tax. I'm not paying you this. I'm only going to pay. That's never going to fly. We all know that. But there are always instances, right? Even if they take your income tax off your check, even if you're forced to pay property taxes with your mortgage, it's included in the mortgage. There's nothing you can do. If all three of those things are true, right? And you check that up, you check that box on all three. There are still tons of things that you can do to not support these criminal terrorist organizations. These so-called countries, which are glorified corporations, right? If you found out, and we know this already, that a corporation, let's say a fast food, right? Fast food restaurant, one of the biggest ones. I'm sure you can imagine which one I'm referring to. Let's say that, and this happens all the time, let's say that they did something out of negligence and they caused some huge disaster in your hometown. Would you ever support that company ever again with any of your money? Would you ever shop there? Would you not do everything in your power to make sure that that company goes down? Why is that different? Because it's a public service corporation and it has big fangs and claws that scare you, right? Do you not still have a duty to yourself, to your fellow man, to do the right thing, to make the proper ethical and moral choice, to do what's right for yourself, for your future generations, for your kids, for your grandkids, for their kids? You have a duty, right? We all do, to uphold the actual law, the universal law, God's law, natural law, right? We all have a duty to uphold that. So if in 2023 you're not doing everything you can, right? And again, everything in your power to, at the very least, stifle them a little bit. I'm sorry, but I have no respect for you, and maybe my opinion of you doesn't matter. Probably shouldn't. But you shouldn't be very proud of yourself either, because we all need to take proper steps. We all need to venture more into the counter economics realm a little bit and start thinking a little bit. You know, if you don't want to think anarchist, that's fine. Think a little bit more libertarian, perhaps, right? Think about reducing this hydra, this fucking cult of government. Think about at least reducing it down to a manageable size like it was intended to be, right, from the beginning. Anyway, I've said enough. This is not this kind of series. I'm sorry. I had to just share. I had to share at least one opinion. Maybe out of all these, right? Because we got probably 20 little news stories here. I'll try to at least get get on the soapbox no more than once for all of these. Okay, just that was a strong one for me, and I apologize, but at the same time I don't, because I think it needed to be said. And I think most people that are watching this would probably agree with me. And if you don't, well, then go away. Um, where were we? Yeah, and that whole digital citizen contribution program, this is all falling in line with the whole digital passport thing and the social credit system, and it's all just tightening the noose. That's what they're doing. They're tightening the noose, and you're letting them, right? I'm not, but you are, maybe. Although I told you to go away if you were, so you're probably not watching anymore. I have to assume that if you're watching this, you kind of think like I do. The rate of myocarditis spiked in the U.S. military in 2021, newly disclosed data shows. Diagnosis of myocarditis, a form of heart inflammation linked to the jumped 130.5% in 2021 when compared to the average from the years 2016 to 2020, according to data from the Defense Medical Epidemiology Database. So since 2020, it jumped up, or in 2021, sorry, it jumped up 130.5%. And there's no obvious correlation there between that and the injections. Huh? The military mandated in the summer of 2021. I don't even. Let's keep going. All right. The newly released CDC-funded Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network report finds that autism spectrum disorder prevalence in the U.S. has increased to 1 in 36 children born in 2012, up to 1 in 44 children from the previous report for children born in 2010. That's up from 1 in 110 children studied in 2006 and 1 in 1,000 children studied in 1995. What the fuck? I mean, I already knew this, but reading it, and I've already read this, but reading it again, it's like, wow. Wow. 1 in 1,000 children studied in 1995. Now, is that the studies that changed? Is it the findings that changed? Or is it both? Or is it something else? Or is it all of the above? Either way, there's something messed up there. 1 in 1,000 children had autism in 1995, according to these studies. Then in 2006, 1 in 110. That's a huge jump. And then in 2012, 1 in 36. 1 in 36 children. Wow. What is it now? This was 2012. My goodness. I remember in 2012 actually having a debate with a friend of mine, and we debated so much that we came to the same conclusion that, yeah, there's probably something there. 1 in 36 in 2012. Good Lord. Let's move on and wrap this thing up. FDA quietly extended the end date. I love these. I'm saying that sarcastically if you didn't notice. FDA quietly extended the end date for the Pfizer study on heart inflammation in the 16 to 30-year-olds by an entire year. You'd think if it was a serious thing that they wouldn't delay it at all, let alone for an entire year, despite Pfizer only needing a few months to develop their vaccine. Yeah, it's funny how that works. Finished their study and released the vaccine back in 2020. Study 4591031 would be the only randomized controlled study on mRNA-induced myopericarditis, and was supposed to be completed in June and published in December 2022. This isn't the first time Pfizer has done this. Yeah, I know, I've read this several times now. Their first ever study on the vaccine in pregnant women was completed in July 2022, but they have yet to release that study and data as well. So they completed the study, in July of 2022, so not that long ago, and they didn't release the study or any of the data, but they're still recommending these injections for pregnant women. There's a special place in hell for these people, and I can only hope that there is such a place for these people, because they need some universal justice. They need a heavy dose of karma or something. If it's not in this lifetime, it'll be in another. All right, we got 3 more to go. Despite dietitians of Canada advising the public in 2022, you cannot boost your immune system through diet. No specific food, supplement, or natural health product will prevent you from catching. Do not spread misinformation. Scientific evidence is showing the contrary. A new meta-analysis, a study of studies titled Protective Effects of Vitamin D Supplementation on Related Intensive Care Hospitalization and Mortality, Argano et al., found that vitamin D administration results in a decreased risk of death and ICU admission, and claimed the association is definitive. So the results must have been pretty strong to say that it was definitive. It's rare for them to ever say that. And something as simple as vitamin D, right? All right, we got a few more to go, 2 more to go. The large German health insurer BKK Provida released an analysis of data collected from more than 10 million people, suggesting side effects are significantly underreported, finding that 4 to 5% of people have received medical treatment as a result of side effects. So it almost seems, actually it doesn't seem, it's pretty obvious that's what's going on, is that more people are getting sick and experiencing long-term side effects from these injections, right? And we kind of had a hunch that was going on in 2021. We kind of were pretty sure that was what was going on in 2022. In 2023, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that there's a connection there. It's obvious. You don't have to read too many articles or too many studies or too many experience reports from people to know. And if you've experienced a little bit of this yourself, you know. I've talked to people that got one injection and they got really sick and it scared them, and then they didn't get any more injections. But then I've talked to other people who got one injection, maybe they got lucky, nothing happened. They got another injection, nothing happened. They got a third injection, and then their health started to go down, but they still got another injection. What the hell? When you're up to 4 or 5 injections and you're spending, every other month in the hospital, you got to connect the dots, people. Come on. Oh, anyway. Yeah, it really appears as though more people, and especially this is going to be more true as time goes on, more people are going to be sick as a result of taking these experimental, I don't want to use the word, it's not. Taking these experimental drugs is going to cause more harm. It probably already has. Let's read the next one, and then I'm out. This has been a little bit longer than I wanted it to be anyway. But let's finish it up. Last news tidbit for Absurdity Observer, April edition, and Druthers. Here it is. A new report shows the staggering number of boosters needed to be administered to prevent speaking of my point, to prevent just one hospitalization. And that's not even an infection. This is a hospitalization. A hospitalization is defined as a hospitalized patient who tests positive for regardless of the reason for admittance. Okay, it's a little bit of a weird definition, but okay. According to the report by the UK Health Security Agency titled Appendix 1, Estimation of Number Needed to Prevent a Hospitalization, 76,000 boosters would be needed to prevent just one hospitalization in teens aged 16 to 19. The 20 to 29 age group would need 40,900 injections to prevent just one hospitalization in their population. And the 30 to 39 age group would need 35,900 boosters to prevent just one hospitalization. And when it came to severe hospitalizations, the numbers were even worse, with 418,100 boosters needed to prevent just one severe hospitalization in the 20 to 29 age group. But it doesn't stop people from going to get the injection, from pushing the injection, from suggesting that there's still some good reason to take it, to experiment with your body when the benefits are not there and the risk is not there. You know? Eh. I'm not in the best of shape, okay? I'm not unhealthy, but I'm not fit as a fiddle either. And I'm still here. Did I get lucky? Or is the survival rate actually up and above 99%? Not just for my age group, but for all age groups. Even the 60 plus was like, it was like 98 point something percent chance of survival. So, experimental natural immunity, medical establishment, nature, last 100 years of human evolution, beginning of time. It's like, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Anyway, this series is not about me sharing my opinions, even though I've obviously done a lot of that. Can't help it. Only human. I have an ego. It comes through. But, there was some good stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff that, quite honestly, saddened me. Even reading it a second time, I was like, oh, can't believe that shit's still happening in the world. There's a lot of stuff in there that pissed me off. But then there's a lot of stuff, too, that's like, I hope they keep doing it, right? And I think this way a lot for government stuff. I really hope, in a way, in a kind of twisted way, to be honest, that they keep doing what they're doing. Because every time they do something like this, they reveal their true colors a little bit more and more, and more people wake up and realize what their agenda is really about. And they understand that public safety, public health is really not their concern. Do you honestly think they care about you? They don't know you. They don't know your name. They don't know who you are. You're a number to them. You're a straw man. You're another corporation. You're another corporation for them to put their foot down on, right? And to just kick around and abuse. And if that's all you want to be, that's your choice. But know that you cannot ever willingly give up your rights, your human rights. You can't. You cannot. You can sacrifice them, put them aside, trample them, run them through the mud, ignore them, pretend they don't exist, whatever. But you can never give them up. Because if you give them up, somehow you find a way to give up your human rights, you're essentially giving up the human rights of everyone else. Because they'll know, and that's the whole trend, that's the whole history of what's happened up until now, is it's a big testing ground, right? If they realize that they can get, like, look what's happening in Nigeria right now with the digital currency thing. If they realize they can get away with it in one population, then they'll try it in another and in another and in another. And when their success rates are high enough, they're just going to blanket apply it across the board globally. And then we're all fucked. So don't ever put yourself in a position where you can even consider giving up your human rights, because it's not an option. It's not. You can't. You're born with them. They're your God-given rights. You can't give them up. It's your legacy. So what you should do, instead of finding ways to give them up and give over your power to some other being or some other fictitious legal entity, maybe look for ways to promote and to advocate for human rights, and to protect our liberties at all costs. And don't forget what I said earlier. It is your duty, right? It's my duty. I'm not just pointing at you. There's three other fingers pointing at me too. It's our duty to make sure that these corrupt, criminal public service corporations and organizations do not take over. Because once they get handed all the powers, we're not going to get them back. And that's a one-way street where there's no backpedaling, there's no coming back from that. So be very, very careful of what you accept, of what you promote in your own life, what you tolerate, and what you turn a blind eye to. Because someday, if we're not careful, the Absurdity Observer is going to be the entire paper. And essentially, when you read the articles in here, that's what it is. There's only half a page in this publication. Not even. Look at the good news tidbits. That's that one little square in 12 pages, right? And this is one of the good papers. This is one of the only good papers. So, anyway, that should give you enough food for thought for another month. Join me next time and we'll do the good news tidbits. Obviously, it won't take nearly as long because there ain't that many of them. But they're fun to read, and they're good, and they're encouraging, and gives you the warm feels inside. So we'll do that next time, and then we'll come back at you for another Absurdity Observer and good news tidbits in May. So have a good rest of April. Happy spring. Thank you for watching. Be well. Take care. Don't take any shit. Do no harm, though. Do no harm. Take no shit. I'll see you next time. Bye. So, I gotta be honest, I haven't looked that one up, but if it is a legit study, and that's the conclusion that they came to, how is that misinformation? How is that medical misinformation? I wasn't even sharing an opinion. Maybe I go on to do that here. That one's highly suspect because not only did I mention COVID-19 several times, it was talking about alternative therapy with vitamin D. So that one is definitely a candidate for, or at least, like I said, maybe even in combination with some of these other ones. I don't know. But the ones that I suspect the most, I'm going to circle here and I'm going to look those up first. So there was that one. There was the myocarditis one. And then there's the one, I'm going to review these all before we wrap up. But there was another one too that mentioned the C word a few times, but I think we're getting closer here. I don't know if I'm giving advice necessarily here versus sharing my experience of what these have done for me. Being a proponent of someone from your own experiences is a little different than making a recommendation for someone else, but perhaps if this is the one, that's what they're insinuating, is I made a recommendation here. So if I decide to appeal this, I might work that into the legal side of this and kind of use that as my reason, my basis for, hey, I was just sharing my own personal experience. I wasn't making any recommendations for anyone. Or what would be interesting to try is leave that in, but put a warning up on the screen or maybe an audible saying that what I'm about to share is strictly my own personal experience, and I'm not advocating for anyone to take this as medical advice. Perhaps a disclaimer is all that's needed here. Who knows? But that one, that one got circled on my list for sure, because while I do have absolute faith in my stack, I would never recommend that anyone else use it, uh, because I'm not a medical professional. You know, I might be an herbalist and a proponent of plant medicines, but I don't know your situation. I don't know how healthy you are. I don't know what pre-existing conditions you have. So I would never recommend something just, willy-nilly like that to someone that I don't know. And I wouldn't do that. I'd be very hesitant to do that with anyone, other than my family and the ones that I trust and that trust me. But to just make a blanket statement like that on the internet, definitely not. I'm starting to think more and more that was the one, because I use some words like you and you. I was just generalizing there, but they may have interpreted that as like a directive. So that's the one that so far for me is the most suspect. That one's probably the runner-up. I make some pretty strong. I share some pretty strong opinions on that one, going so far as to say that people who have been injected will get sick. I do believe that to be the case. I've seen that. I've seen people's immune systems get shot from these injections, but I have no way of proving that necessarily. Um, that one's probably second place for me as for probability, because I did use the C's and the V's several times, at least 3 times each. I don't know about the word injection. I don't think that's a problem, but let's check out this last one. I think I meant to say the risk is there. There's no the risk benefit ratio is off, is what I was trying to say, but I misspoke. Um, I don't think that one's a problem, even though I did mention the C's and the V's several times, 3 or 4 times at least. I'm wondering the word booster, probably not, but who knows, the combination of them together or with the other ones. I'm still leaning on whatever it was, number 14, the two two paragraphs ago, but let's finish it off here. I think that was the last one, and there's about 6 minutes left in the video. So let's just get to the end, and then I'll wrap it up and let you know what I plan to do from here. I might cut that part out because I feel like it wasn't properly expressed. Hopefully you get what I was trying to say there, but it didn't quite come out right. The sentiment is good, was well intentioned, but I feel like I didn't phrase it properly. Even now, I don't feel like I have the capacity to properly explain what it is I was trying to say. So I may remove that from the video, but if I do, I'll put a brief explanation why I removed it. And sadly, that's not just the case for Druthers. Most publications now are like that, unfortunately. That's just the state of the world. Good ending, good ending. Yeah, so I think we figured it out. I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would put my money on number 14 I have here. I don't know if it was 14 exactly because I identified, I think, 20 paragraphs or 20 little um, blurbs there in the article in the Absurdity Observer. But just to go through them again real quick. So in the first few, there was mention of the P word, pandemic, which I'll probably have to remove. I don't know that that's the one, so I might leave that one. Public health, there's nothing against the policies as far as I know of criticizing public health. Fluoride, there's probably tons of videos on fluoride. CDC and FOIA, possibly, but I'd find that hard to believe that 3 letters would flag a video and get it banned. Number 4 had COVID-19 with once at least. Possibility. Same for number 5, 6, 7 mentions Fauci and the World Health Organization, so possible. Number 8, pandemic, 3 times. Number 9, once. Number 10 is fine. 11, myocarditis, I don't know. Injection, I don't think so. And then again, so these all have C's and V's in them, but none of them really stand out. And my intuition, which is fairly accurate usually, is telling me that it's 14. Number 12, nothing. Number 13 did mention the FDA, and they're quite sensitive, and I did mention the C's and V's multiple times on that one. So if I were to guess, if I were to rank them, let's say from most likely to less likely, I would say number 14 is definitely number 1. And then number 2 would be either the one that mentions the myocarditis, which not likely, that's probably like number 4 in the likelihood. The one with the FDA, probably say second or third place. Let's say third, because there is a mention of C's and V's multiple times. Number 15, where's 15? Oh, 15 mentions C's and V's 3 times and injection. I don't think injection is a bad word. And then number 16, the last one, which is probably I would suspect number 2. The C word 4 times, the V word 3 times. I mentioned booster, which I don't think is a problem. I could be talking about a rocket. It's survival. Survival is really what made me think that that's a strong possibility. And then I was mentioning, medicine versus nature. There's probably some opposition to that as well, even though it's quite obvious that that's how it works. I would say that's number 2, but my guess is without a doubt, to be honest, it's got to be number 14. It's got to be the one where I mentioned, first of all, there was a few C's. I don't know if there was any V's on that one, but just the C's alone. The vitamin D, which is not wrong in and of itself, but in combination with my strong opinion and my folk remedies, which you can't discuss anymore for some reason, the echinacea, and the fact that I use the word cure in the same sentence or in the same paragraph, and then another C, the C's in combination with my little folk remedy is probably what did it. And like I said, if I was gonna bet on it, it would be that one. So I'm gonna start with that. And another thought comes to mind that there could be another experiment done with multiple versions of this new edited video, this one here that I'm recording right now, multiple versions of that video. It's going to take a while to upload and edit, but let's say I wanted to do 3 separate videos. I could try one that's like fully censored, so like each and every one of these, make sure that I eliminate the sound on those so that there's never any mention of C's or V's. I mean, you could read my lips, but they can't block a video from that alone, I don't think. I mean, it might be coming soon, but I don't think they're there yet. Then a second version could be one that only censors the C's and V's. And then what I'd really like to experiment with is to see on a third video if we can just fix number 14 and get away with that. So that's probably what I'm going to try first, is to fix, again, being a loose term, edit, maybe is a better word, edit number 14 alone and render that, maybe compress it so it's not so large to upload, and then see what the processing does when it does its check. I'm guessing that how it works is when it does a copyright check, it checks for other things at the same time, such as, quote unquote, misinformation or disinformation. So when it does its check, it should let me know if it caught anything. And if it didn't, then I know that that was likely the problem. Now, if it doesn't pass at that point, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, when I first uploaded that video, unless it was an occasion where I uploaded and then went to bed, I don't remember seeing any problems during the check. So I wonder if this was flagged by someone specifically, if the public service corporations are hiring people to, actually, I know for a fact that that's what they're doing. So that actually helps me formulate a plan. So I'm going to start with the last strategy that I mentioned, and then I'm going to go to number 2 and number 3 to save myself unnecessary labor. I'll go more and more strict with the censoring because I don't want to self-censor. I'd rather not self-censor at all. But just to figure this one out and to help all future videos of this nature make it on the channel without getting deleted, we'll know. We'll know by the end of this. By the time I upload this video, I will have all the answers, and I will be more than happy to share them with you. Hopefully, it allows us, those of us who are being oppressed in this way, prevented from speaking our mind and speaking the truth. Maybe it helps us to get our videos on there, not get deleted. But either way, we're going to get to the bottom of it. This is 90% of the investigation done right now. The rest is just testing. So anyway, this has been a very long video. I get it out there as fast as possible and share the results of this test and this investigation to figure out why Google and YouTube are so intent on labeling people misinformation and disinformationists. Quite honestly, I think they're the disinformationists because they're not allowing the truth to be heard, and they're allowing themselves to be bullied by these public service corporations, or they're partnering with them. We don't know. We don't know. Either scenario is possible, but to look out for my own interest and those of people in a similar boat, yeah, stay tuned and I'll share the results as soon as possible. Look forward to that. Let me know what you think. If this kind of stuff is up your alley and you have more information or you'd like to collaborate or share ideas, please get in contact with me. And I'd love to work with you. And otherwise, I thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership as always so much. And I'll catch you on the next one.